Hi Abdullah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How is it going so far with your interview?
Yeah, it's good. I'm actively interviewing with some companies, and it's going good.
Oh, that's great to know. Thanks for sharing. So, welcome to Course Smart. So today we are going to take a mock interview. It will be 30 minutes long. We'll do a coding problem. We'll solve a coding problem in 30 minutes. We'll use this Google Doc. You can see it here. So I know this is not the best idea in the world, but some companies like Google, they use Google Doc to conduct their coding interviews. So we want to mimic that uh, environment. So we're using this Google Doc today. And thanks for your time for joining these mock coding interview sessions with CodeSmart. And again, my name is Abu Ubaida. I'm a software engineer at Facebook. And today we have our guest, Abdullah Al Mamun. He will participate in this mock coding interview sessions. Welcome to these sessions, Abdullah. Can you tell me briefly about yourself and how far you are in your job searching process?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity because I think it helps to prepare myself for the upcoming interviews. So I'm Abdullah, doing my PhD in Florida International University and actively interviewing uh, with some other FAANG companies and also some startups. Yeah, so I'm actually preparing for the interview, and I hope this session will help me to shape my coding experience.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's get it started. I'm gonna copy paste the problem in this one, and then you can ask me questions if you have any confusions or anything regarding the coding problem, and then we can go from there. All right, so that sounds okay to you?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so let me copy paste the problem here. All right, so here is your questions. Not too long. Um, you can read it, and you can ask me any questions if you have
Yeah, design a
anything.
stack that includes a max operation in addition to push and pop.
Right.
So what I understand is I have to build a stack that will have three operation. One is find max, then
Right.
push, and then three is pop. So I have couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So so this stack will be identical with what we actually know about the stack, right?
That's right.
I mean the push and pop operation.
That's right.
And the second question would be the data will actually come like a stream or one by one or fixed array or something.
So it's not going to be a stream. You can think about it. It will come one by one, just like a regular stack we have. So we'll push something, we'll pop something, maybe we can push again, something like that. But it's not coming as a stream.
Okay, so the second question would be the any idea about how long I mean, how long would be the data range? I mean, how many items would be?
Um, the items could be pretty long,
Okay,
could be pretty small,
okay.
but yeah, think about like it could be something maybe 100,000 elements in an array.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that makes sense. Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So the naive approach would be, I will take a list
Mm-hmm.
and then uh, I mean, yeah. So the list will have push and pop operation.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing is actually I have to return the maximum number.
Yes,
So that is the important part of this I think this code.
that's right.
And to find the maximum, one way could be, just brute force approach. I will
Mm-hmm.
apply the brute force technique. That means I will compare each of the items and I will just update the maximum value.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be a variable called max, and then I will update it accordingly. But
Okay.
it will take, every time I call the max, it will look through the all items and then it will update the max. So it will take more time. But I'm thinking, how can I make it in a constant time so that
Yes.
every time we call the max and it will immediately return the max items.
Yes.
So
Ideally,
the
that's
so
what we
the
want. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, so do you think, so how can I do that? So the approach would be every time a new items came, we will check it, we'll compare it and then update the value. Or yeah, so when we'll push, the item would be like this pair. So value and the max value.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll push this as a pair, and then uh, we'll actually, if somebody call only find max, I
Mm-hmm.
will return the top max value. And yeah, this way I want to implement. Do you think it sounds good?
Yeah. Sounds like it's a good approach. So what would be the time complexity? Is it going to be constant time?
Yeah, right. So finding max would be constant time,
Mm-hmm.
of course, because we are updating. And push pop also would be big of n, big of 1. So
Okay.
everything would be constant time.
Okay, that sounds really good. Yeah, I think you were in the right directions. Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
started.
Okay. Okay. So uh, first of all, I need to actually define a class so that I can define the stack.
Mm-hmm.
So So do you think I need to implement that stack or it is already there? Whatever. So I can implement it. It would be easy. So
Um,
inside that,
you can use the existing one. I believe you are using Python, right?
right.
So yeah, you can use the existing list of Python.
Okay. Okay.
That's
So
fine.
in that case, uh, okay. So I will have actually three different method.
Mm-hmm.
One for find max,
Mm-hmm.
and then uh, a push, and then pop. So every time, yeah. So this method will not have any parameter, but push will have a parameter which is called val.
Right.
So the value we are going to push, and pop will also not have any parameter. So let's focus on the find max. So before finding or doing any operation, what we will do is uh, so let's yeah, okay. So I will have a list that I need to uh, initial value would be this nums, and then yeah, that's it. I don't need to initialize anything else. So now find max. So right,
Yeah. Think about we don't need the initializations. So just to
okay,
keep it simple, uh, let's say the initially it will be always empty. So don't worry about the initializations, at least for now. We can check it
okay,
later.
okay. Then yeah, it would be easier to implement like find max something. So I'll have nums, and then uh, so what I need to do is I need to uh, so I will call it stack, and then uh, so I will actually push all the item. So let's see for x in nums, and then I'll also create another variable which is called maxval. Initially it would be 0, or do you think there would be negative numbers? So I will have actually yeah. So
It could have negative number.
right. So I will initialize with infinity,
So what
and
is
then
this function is going to do? This def find index, is it a method of your class?
no, it's different method. So what I am going to do is, stack will have some items already there, or do I need to push all the items and then call the find max? So
Just think it as a regular stack or regular list of Python. So
okay,
just like we use a list from Python, we can take a list and then we can push some item on the list, pop some item on the list, and then in addition to that, we just want to have another method of that stack, which is the find max, right? So
okay. So in that case, the push will be, just stack uh, uh, dot append
right.
the val,
Mm-hmm.
and then pop would be uh, return self dot stack dot pop.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these two would be will take care of push and pop. Now
Mm-hmm.
let's think about find max. So
Right.
when I will push, I will do some operation. So which is called, I will have another variable called maximum, or what I can do is I can compare if stack, then I will compare the value uh, if val is greater than the whatever uh, the highest value or maximum value is already in the stack. So the second item would be the maximum value. So I already mentioned in the earlier
Mm-hmm.
that the value would be, so in that case what I need to do is I need to do I need to create a so what I'm trying to say is the last maximum value, if it is the value current value is greater than the last maximum, then the last maximum would be updated. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So in that case, what I will do is self stack dot append val. I miss some brackets. So in this way, so this condition, if this condition is true, that means the new value is the maximum, is higher than the existing maximum value.
Right.
Otherwise, what it will do is, it will do the regular thing. So value, comma, the last maximum value, which
Mm-hmm.
is this one. So let's put it here, else.
Okay.
And another condition is if there is no stack. So
Right.
that means in that case, what I will do is I will just push, you know, uh, the value would be the maximum. I mean, the
That's right.
current value would be the maximum value.
Mm-hmm.
So here, when I call the pop, I should return the first item. So it will return the first item. So the value in the stack is kind of the value and the maximum value. So it will return the maximum the first item, which is only the value. Okay, and find max will return the same things, but here it will uh, stack stack -1 and then 1. So that means what is the current maximum item would be on the top of the stack.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
So I can go ahead and do some dry run if you want. So let's
Yeah.
create some test cases. maybe.
Yeah, let's do one test cases. I'm especially interested to see how does it behave when you don't have any item in your stack.
Right. So in that case, right. So in that case, of course, I have to check find max and pop. So for example, if stack, then it will return. Otherwise, you know, it will return maybe null or -1, or maybe we can print that like stack is empty. Similarly here, if stack, then it will return this, otherwise return -1. So -1 indicates that stack is empty in this case. Okay, we can go
But
through.
your stack can have negative numbers, right? So if you return -1, it might make some collision, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's the
probably
good
what could be a
good question.
better approach in there instead of returning -1?
What we can do is we can return like null, or we can return some string that stack is empty.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that could be one solutions, right?
Yeah, like this.
All right.
But every time we are actually returning an integer, that's why I'm sending this.
What about raising some exceptions here, just like regular list does in Python?
Right. Yeah, we can also do that, raising some so in that case, uh, you are suggesting you are proposing to do some try case method, apply some try case.
Now, what I want to see is whenever you don't have anything to return, then you can just raise some exceptions like value error, something similar.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can also do that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the time being, I'm just writing the uh, exception. I
Okay.
can do that definitely, but for the timing, I'm returning like a string. Stack is empty, because I don't know exactly how to write exception in the
Mm-hmm.
Python, so
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry
that's
about
fine.
that.
That's fine. But you got the idea, right?
Yeah.
So, yep. Okay. All right. So, what would be the space complexity of your code?
Okay. So the space would be big of n, because we need to store the number of items, whatever is coming, and we need to store them, where n is the number of total items.
Okay. Okay. Sounds reasonable to me. All right.
And time complexity, as I already mentioned, it would be constant, because every time we are updating the max.
Mm-hmm.
So can I go with a test case?
I think your code looks good to me.
Okay,
I don't think we need a test case here. It looks pretty good
okay,
to me. But I have a
okay,
follow-up questions here.
sure.
So, for example, let's say I have another test case. I'm going to write it down here. Let's say we're going to push some items, and those elements will have a lot of duplicates. Okay, so let's say we push 5, and then we push 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. Let's say 100 0 here. Okay,
Yeah,
and then maybe again 102. So the idea is we have a lot of duplicates here. Okay, so think about like it's coming from some sort of a stream where it's possible that the same data is coming again and again. Then again maybe another 5. So this is the scenario where we will have a lot of duplicates. So can you think of some improvement of your code so that you will have a better space complexity if we have those sort of duplicates?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I will have two approaches. The first thing would be uh, before going jumping into the code, I want to ask a question. So this all zero will be, will be in a simple, I mean, sequentially they will come, right? One by one. So
Yeah,
or you
right.
think
Just
there will
think
be here
about,
also.
yeah, just think about we have a stack and then we push 5 and then we push 0, again push 0, again push 0. We do it 100 times and then maybe we will have some other numbers like we push 2,
Right.
push 2, push 2, push 2, then again push 5. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if data is in a sorted order, so if they are maintaining an order like this, it doesn't mean it is, I mean, I didn't mean that it should be sorted or not, but what I'm saying is all zero will be consecutive. So if they are consecutive,
It
then
might be consecutive, it might not be consecutive.
okay,
There might be one between all those zeros.
right. So in that case, what I will do is I will maintain a set, so or hash map. So for example, I will have a set, and in the set, what I will do is I will uh, store the items, but later on when I will pop, I will not have control to pop that item. So what I will do is uh, instead of set, I can use hash map. So using hash map, what I will do is, uh, for example, 5 will have one time and then 0. So sorry, 0. So I'll count all the zeros, and I will update the count. For example, 100, and I will store in the stack only once, like only 0. So now stack would be like this. So 0 will be only one time and the max value. So when 0 is uh, continuously coming, I will check if 0 is already in the hash map, then I will not insert into the stack. But the problem is when I will pop, it will not be in order. Yeah, I got the point. So for example, I'm pushing 5 and then 0 and then 0 then 0. But when I'll pop, if I have only one item in the stack, then pop will not work.
Right,
Okay.
right, yeah.
So I'm thinking, how can I make it? So and another approach would be, I can add another item here in the stack. So that would be right. So that would be the count. So for example, that will actually not reduce the space completely, but somewhat it will reduce. For example, it will store 0 and its count 100 times, and then the maximum value. So it will actually increase the count if
Right,
the item is similar with the previous item. So
right,
it is not actually storing all the 100 zeros. It will only store the 1 0 with its count.
right.
But
Yeah, that
later on,
somehow will reduce it a little bit, I think. But it will work best if all those zeros are consecutive, right? Then
right,
you don't have to store all those zeros. You can just increase the count.
right,
What if it's not consecutive? Let's say it's coming 0, 1, 2, then a lot of 1 and something like that. So what will happen in that case?
right. So for example, this one, 5, then 100 0, and then 2, 3, 4, again 0. Okay.
Yeah, it can
So,
happen.
right. So in that case, what I'm proposing is to
Yeah, I
use,
think you were in the right directions. Like instead of storing everything, you were trying to store the count, right? So that's
right,
I think that's a good approach, because if you have 100 zeros, we don't store 100 zeros in the stack. We can just store the count, right? So
Right.
I think you are in the right directions. But now think about, like, what if those are not consecutive? Can we improve a little further?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I'm thinking.
maybe uh, instead of using a tuple here, can you think of like using another stack, maybe for storing your
Right.
max value? How
Okay.
about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're proposing to not to use max value here. Otherwise, instead, I can use another stack, like stack, and it will store the max value. Let me
Yeah,
think
only the
actually.
max value, right? We don't need
Right.
to uh, store all the values here, but we can only store the max values. These are the
Right.
max values. Those are available to me at this point, right?
Right. So in that case, what I see a problem is, for example, this one will actually push all the items like 100 instead of 100 0, only 1 0 with their count, and also the max value. But how they synchronize? For example, how they actually solve this problem? Like later on when 0 comes, and it will store another 0 with their count and max value. Okay,
Right.
let me think. Okay. So for example, I start from here, I store 5 and then count.
Like, think about, like, we have five,
Right,
and then if you have hundreds or thousands of zeros, it doesn't matter, because zeros can never be greater than five, right?
right.
So, or maybe one, two, three, four. I mean, it doesn't matter if until unless it's less than five. So we have, at the very beginning we have five, and if we have hundreds, thousands of numbers which are less than five, then we don't really need to store them in our max value stack,
Oh, okay,
because we already
okay.
have five, and we know that the numbers are coming now. They are not going to be the max value, because we already have a bigger number than those number, right?
Right. But for this one, the first stack, it will store all the numbers and their count. But we can only reduce this part, like max value.
Yeah, maybe first
Yeah,
stack is just a regular stack. We
regular
we are
stack.
not
Right. I got that. I got the idea.
we are not really specific to reduce the space complexity on that stack, because
Right.
that's the regular stack in Python or
Right.
JavaScript or any other language. We are just interested to the additional space that we're using for
Right.
finding the max value, right?
Of
So maybe
course, that will.
you can just focus on reducing the space on your second stack. Forget
Yes.
about the first stack.
Right.
It's the
Yeah,
just
definitely
the
we
regular
can do
stack.
that. So I will always check with the previous item. If it is greater than the previous item, then I will store into this stack. So once
Right.
some other API will call find max, it will return the top item.
Right.
So should I go ahead and modify the code or
Uh, we don't have enough time to modify the code.
okay?
You can just explain me your idea.
Yeah,
How do you
sure.
think, how is it going to solve the problem?
Okay. So every time a new item came, then it will actually push to this stack with their count. So how count will work? It will actually check the previous item. If the previous item, that means the value and the current value is same, then it will increase the count. Otherwise, the count will be 1. Uh, this way, it will actually push. And then when pop, it will actually return the latest value, and it will decrease the count.
Right.
If the two item consecutive
Mm-hmm.
item is same, then
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it will actually doing nothing. And the other one is at the time of pushing, we'll also check the last maximum value. I mean the -1, that means the last one. If it is maximum, then the current value is the maximum than the previous value, then it will actually push. Otherwise, it will do nothing.
Mm-hmm. And how the pop will work on the max value.
Right.
Let's say you are popping all zeros, um, and then 5. How will it work? Can you give an example here?
right. So in this case, for example, 5 and then 100. So I will have two stack,
Mm-hmm.
one. So let's delete this one. Oh, so it would be the first stack count, and then second one would be 2, and then 3, and then 3, 1, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And the second stack would be only the maximum value. So it will contain the max, which is 5, and then 0 will not do anything. And then, yeah, so nothing will actually come. So always 5.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but the problem is when we are popping this item,
Right.
and
Let's say we on
yeah,
a
right,
let's say we on a pop 1. Okay.
right. So in that case, we also need the count. So we also need the count of, here. So max value and their count,
Right. Mm-hmm.
because we need to keep track of how many maximum value are there, so that we will not run out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, for example, when we are pushing this 5, the count would be 1. But I think 1, and then so so what we need to do is, if something came and it is similar, the value is similar with the previous one,
Mm-hmm.
then we need to increment the count.
Right.
And when we pop, if the popping item is equal to the max value, then we have to decrement the count.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if not, then what are you gonna do?
We are not doing anything,
Right.
because this is not the maximum item.
Right. Right. Yeah. Looks like it should work. The way you explained it, I think it should work. We don't have enough time to do the implementations in code, but I like your idea that how you are going to approach the optimizations of the space
But
complexity.
yeah, but I think I'm confident enough to modify the update the code, because yeah, it will not be, yeah, right. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Once you have the idea, then probably it's not that much difficult to write down the code. So we don't have enough time today, but I think you have did a great job in explaining how are you going to do the space optimizations. And thank you so much for participating in today's interview. Our recruiters will reach out to you within short period of time, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks. And I wish you best of luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you. All right, so we are done with our coding interview, 30 minutes coding interview, and now the time is for feedback. Thank you so much, Abdullah, for participating. So I have some feedback for you. Like I have a, I'm writing down some feedback about you. So this is what happened in the actual interview also. So when an interviewer is taking your interview, he will constantly writing feedback, his observations about you, how you are doing, and he has to submit a detailed report after the interview to the hiring committee. Okay, so just like that, I didn't write that much detail, but I have some idea in my head that I'm going to write it down. If this is an actual interview, then I have to write my observations about you, feedback about you, have to fill up a form, and then I have to submit that feedback, that report to the hiring committee. Okay, so that's how the actual real interview works. But I do have some feedback that I'm gonna share with you. So basically, I will talk about 3 axes, and most of the interviewer will do the same. The number 1 axis is the problem solving skill. How good are you at solving the problem? The second one is coding. How good is coding, and how readable is your coding? And the third one is the communications. How good you are at expressing yourself. Like whenever you are talking about solving a problem, can you explain it to the interviewer in a clear way so that the interviewer can understand what you are thinking. Sometimes we miss this part, this communications part, but this is really important in real life, because in software we are not going to work in silo. Almost all the time we have to work with some other teammates, right? So whenever we have some idea, we need to express our idea to our teammates. So this is really important in software, and I think probably in any other job, like communicate clearly. So that is also a big part of a coding interview. So that's why I have these three things. So let's talk about the problem solving skills. So in the first part of the coding interview of this problem, the problem was design a stack that includes a max operations in addition to push and pop. And I think you demonstrated a high level of problem solving skill when you were working on this problem. Because you understand the code, that you already know that the stack have this push pop, this type of things. This is a regular stack, and you understand that in addition to that we have to implement another method, which is finding max, which is finding the max value we have in that stack. So you understand the problem clearly, and then you came up with some ideas, with some brute force ideas first that I really liked. Before just going to the optimized solutions, you talked about what other solutions we have, like the brute force, and you mentioned that the brute force algorithm will take order of n time complexity for finding the max, and then based on that, you suggested that maybe we can improve that time complexity, and then you started going to the actual code that you were thinking. So I think you have demonstrated really good problem solving skills. I really like that. And on the second part, there is a follow-up question. So sometimes it will happen in the real interview, like you will get some sort of follow-up questions when the first part is done, especially if the first part of the coding is on the easier side of the skill, right? So if you have medium questions or hard questions, then probably you won't get the follow-up questions. But if the problem is kind of in the easier side, then probably you will get some sort of follow-up questions, and that's what happened in this coding interview also. So I found you struggled a little bit in the second part, but I gave you some hint, and you can expect some hint in the real interview also. If the interviewer thinks that he or she needs to give you some hint, he or she will give you some hint, and you have to open enough to accept those hints. So that is also an important part of a coding interview, right? So the interviewer is trying to give you some hint, and you should be open-minded to catch those hints and work on that. Sometimes is a really good skill, I would say, to catch those hints. Maybe you have some other ideas in your head, but probably it's better idea to go with the hints the interviewer is trying to give it to you, because the interviewer is trying to direct you in a certain direction. So if you go into that directions, then probably it will create some good impressions to the interviewer. So that's one thing that you did really good.
I think it also gives some kind of signal that I can work with a team.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. So that's another good thing, good trait you have demonstrated today, that you are open to hints, you are open to suggestions, right? So that's what will happen when you work with some other people, because some other people, they will have their own ideas, you will have your own ideas, but if you got stuck with your idea and you are not open to ideas from other people, then probably you are not a good team player, right? So that's another thing I liked about your approach, that you were open to my hints and you worked on those ideas. You took the hints from me, and finally you were able to somehow solve the problem using those hints. So good job on that.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing is coding. Let's look at the code you have wrote. The code you have wrote is pretty standard, and I think is clear enough to understand. And it demonstrates that you have some good coding writing skills. The only thing I would suggest is, like, when you are writing a Python code, then probably you should follow the naming convention of Python. Right? If you're writing JavaScript code, then it's better to follow the naming convention of JavaScript. Like, you name the class is stack, so when you name a class, then it's better to use the camel case, right? So instead of S, you can use capital S here. Right?
Yeah.
In Python, you use underscore, right, when you are writing the method name. The way you wrote is Java or JavaScript style. So when you are writing Python, try to follow the Python style. When you are writing Java, try to follow the Java style. So that's one thing. Another thing is, like, your class name and your property name is same. So probably it will create some confusions whenever someone else is reading your code. So instead of just using stack, again the same name, you can probably use something different. Let's say self_underscore stack, because this is going to be a private property for this class, right? So it's better to use underscore. In Python, is underscore means that this is private, so no one outside of this class have access to this property. So that's another thing. But other than that, I think you have written a pretty clean code. I like the code. One more thing is, like, probably it's not a good idea when you were working on array, which is working with integers and then returning a string here. Probably you can just write down yes. If you don't know how to raise an exception in Python, you can just write a comment here. Okay, I will raise an exception here, just like you did. Okay, I don't know exactly how to raise an exception, and that is completely okay, because we all are human. We don't know everything about every syntax of every programming language, right? So you can tell that I can't exactly remember how to raise an exceptions, but I will just raise an exceptions, and you can just write down a comment here, and that should be completely fine. All right, so the next one is push. Yeah, I think you have written a pretty clean code here. One optimization you could have done here, instead of using all those if else, probably you can just write something like max val, and then you can get the max val. You can compare the current val, and then you take this one, right? So you just compare between these two value, and you get the max value here. So it will be a little bit cleaner, and then you don't need all those if else here, right? You can just use the max value. So it would be much more cleaner in that way. All right, and the pop value, yeah, is pretty clean, and I like the way you have written the code today. Congratulations on that. And the next thing is communications, the third axis. I really like the way you explained your approach before jumping to the code. So I remember you have asked some clarifying questions at the beginning, which is a really good sign. Instead of just jumping into the code, make sure that you understand the questions. So I like your approach that you asked some questions at the very beginning of the interview. And then you explained your idea, that how you are going to solve this problem. You explained your idea using this pseudocode, like you are going to store value and the max value, the current max value you have. So you explained it, and that's again a good thing to do. And another thing is you asked for the affirmative tone from the interviewer. That you asked me, do you think this is going to work? And I said, yeah, it looks good, go ahead. So that means the interviewer is liking your approach. So you got some sort of hint from the interviewer that you are in the right directions, and only then you have started writing the code. So that's the way to do in the coding interview, and you did really good on that. Yeah, so your problem solving is good, your coding is good, your communication is good. The only thing is like you struggled a little bit about the follow-up questions. So probably that will go away with a lot of practice. So I would suggest you to not only just solve the problem, but also try to practice some follow-up questions with each question. So that will make you more comfortable. That will make you more expert, better skilled in solving problem in any coding interview. So yeah, that's all my feedback for you. I hope it's helpful. So do you have any questions today?
Yeah, one last question is, would you pass me in the real interview or not?
I
Is it
think
the-
I think I will pass you in the real interview, because I was on all those three axes. You did really good. The only
Thank
thing
you.
is you struggled a little bit in the follow-up questions. So if you did the follow-up questions, then probably it I would recommend a must hire, that
Okay.
the company must hire you. And since you struggled a little bit in the follow-up, then I would probably recommend hire.
Okay.
So that's just the
That
only
makes sense.
hire, right?
Right.
It's just the difference between must hire and hire. If I say must hire, then it's way stronger recommendations for you, but you are still in the hiring range.
Thank you.
So yeah, do you have
And I
any other
enjoy the
questions?
session. Yeah, I enjoy the session, and I think the mock interview will actually help. Preparing. It will actually build the confidence. At the same time, the communication is skill.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you so much for participating, and hope to see you again.